Yeah.
Hey, Magic Makers, I'm Mom Birella, and CJ Peterson is on the road today, so she may be on some, but her signal is kind of struggling. So this is Magic Making Mischief, and today we have our special guest, Paul Taylor Thomas. Did I say that one in the right order?
It's just Paul T. Taylor.
Sorry, Paul Taylor. Okay, hold on 1 second. Apparently my volume has decided to go down with everything. But we are preparing for TerraFest, which is coming up at the first weekend, there we go, of October, and Paul will be a special guest there.
Very special. Yes, I am.
So we are very excited to have him. I'm sorry, apparently I'm having some technical difficulties at this moment. I think my phone has decided to be quiet. My apologies. Okay.
That's okay.
I'd like to be able to hear you too. Okay, there we go. That should help.
Oh, you haven't been able to hear me yet?
Gotcha. Okay. Yes, I can hear you now.
Good.
Sorry about that.
Good.
Anyway, so we have a short one right now, and we will actually have a follow-up with Diane coming up as well. So stick around after this episode for the next one.
Everyone I know has a big butt. Tell me about your big butt, Simone. Ask her that. Did you already ask her that? Did you already ask her about her big butt?
Yeah,
it's
it was actually
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I'm not.
It was awesome being able to talk to Diane because she got to share some of the stories from working with Paul Rubin, and of course, everybody who knows him, he's like a crucial part of their childhood and everything. There's so many great memories there.
I did shed tears. It's fine. I'm over. He's gone, but he's not gone. You know,
never gone, never forgotten. Yeah.
I've loved him since 1979 or 80, whenever it was that Showtime put out the Pee Wee Herman Show, which was his live stage show that he did at the Roxy in LA, that he created when he was in the Groundlings. And I'm like, this guy, I love him so much. He's a genius. And then a few years later, he did Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and the rest is history. Yeah, he was a huge part of our lives. If we were cool, we loved Pee Wee Herman.
Right. Maybe for the clip. So Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself for those who aren't familiar with some of your work.
Well, I grew up a thespian, started doing community theater because I saw my dad doing it in the middle of Kansas, in Hutchinson, Kansas. Then I decided I wanted to be a professional actor, and I was a theater actor for many, many, many years. That's what I did. That's what I trained for. I was dissuaded from being a film actor by my dad, who told me I wasn't good looking enough. So little did he know that, well, he could have realized, there are character actors in the world, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I went on, I did that for many, many years. Then after 9/11, I'm skipping way forward. 9/11, I was still pursuing the Broadway and all that stuff. And I had some success in New York, but after 9/11, I decided I wasn't the New Yorker I really thought I had been growing up. And so I moved to Texas, and shortly, because I'd lived here before doing lots of theater and getting my union card, Actors Equity card, and had quite a theater career here before I moved to New York. Then had 5 years there. Then 9/11, I came back, and I got an agent, and I started auditioning for commercials and TV and movies. And she sent me down to Austin to audition for Robert Rodriguez's Sin City, and I got that. And then I continued doing movies. Hurricane Katrina happened. A lot of movies were happening in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And then when it was destroyed by Katrina, a lot of the work moved to Shreveport, which is only a 3-hour drive from Dallas. So I started doing a lot of movies. And then fast forward a lot. I mean, because a lot of years went by, I continued doing that and continued doing theater. And then in 2015, I think, I got an audition for a mysterious film called Judgment, which was a horror film being shot in Oklahoma City. And Chris Freihofer was the casting director for that movie. He'd cast me in many things before. He knew I was quirky and weird and loved horror. And but there's not a lot of that kind of thing shot in Oklahoma or Texas. So I was put on tape for a role, but I knew it was a Hellraiser movie because of this other role's first line in the audition sides. It was, "We have such sights to show you." And I'm like, this is a Hellraiser movie. Then they came back at me a week later and they said, "Well, Doug Bradley's not playing Pinhead, so please audition for this role." And I thought, there's no way. And then I changed my mind. There was a way if I just made it the best audition of my life. And I got the role of Pinhead, and it elevated my visibility in the film industry, and it made a lot of horror people notice me. And so now a lot of people are calling me a horror actor, but I'm not. I'm an actor, but I got to play Pinhead, and that was in the 80s. I always loved horror, but in the 80s, Hellraiser was always my favorite. Pinhead was always my favorite 80s horror icon. So to get to play him it was a dream come true. And a kid who grew up loving Halloween so much, I wanted it to be Halloween all year long. It was like, it was truly a dream come true to get to play that monster in a real movie. And just, it's done wonderful things for me, and it keeps giving. I just got a great big residual check yesterday from Hellraiser Judgment. I'm like, people are noticing. And anytime anything Hellraiser happens, it benefits me, and I love meeting my fans at conventions and stuff. And it's crazy. I feel very, 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 very fortunate, very lucky.
Well, and we get to meet you this last spring for the first time. It was such a pleasure getting to meet you. You have some cool stuff you had at your table too. You showed us the puzzle box on there. That's really neat to be able to mess with it. It's like, we're not going to open another realm by messing with this, right?
No, they're deactivated. Or they never worked. But yeah, I like to I want to sell things at my table that are sort of Hellraiser universal, if they're not personally the Pinhead I played in Hellraiser Judgment. Although I do have Pinhead pops, only because, as a lot of people would say, it's Pinhead. You played classic. Pinhead.
You've got, like, right now, spooky season's coming up for sure, and I see a lot of the people who either cosplay or like have even like the t-shirts of all the classic monsters, and he's just made his way in there. I mean, not the classic. I'm not talking Dracula and Frankenstein. Yeah, I mean, like the 70s, 80s, I guess more. Yeah.
He's contemporary.
Right. There we go.
Sort of. Classic. I mean, Art the Clown is contemporary. Art the Clown is now, but the longevity. I mean, Pinhead's been around over 30 years, and that's pretty cool.
Right. And there's a number of movies made. You were in the third of the movies, is that right?
No.
You were in the third. No, I'm sorry. My bad.
The Hellraiser?
Yes.
No.
I'm sorry.
You're way off. You're actually way off.
How far off am I? Like 8th?
Yeah, I was in the 10th one.
Was it the 10th? I'm sorry. I lost track of how many there were. See, I didn't watch them in order even when I did see them. So that was part of the problem.
There were 10 plus the Hulu, which just came out more recently, with a woman playing the role of the lead Cenobite, Pinhead, whatever you want to call that character. Yeah, I was the last of the franchise under the ownership of Bob Weinstein. We all know what happened with Harvey. Well, it affected Bob, and he lost. Dimension Films owned the franchise for many years. So I was lucky enough, out of all those movies, to have done what many people would describe as one of the better sequels.
Which is probably why it's probably the third one I watched. Because you came highly recommended as the
I mean,
I follow my friends' recommendations when it comes to horror. It's like I'm very picky with it, but I am a horror fan. So.
oh, good. I'm glad. There were many that were done. I mean, mine was also done to just hang on to the franchise. They had to do a shoot of film every 5 years, but unlike some of the other sequels, it was actually written as a Hellraiser movie. Some of these were not. Some of those other ones were just like, here's a script, let's shove Pinhead in there and give Doug Bradley the money, and we'll just call it a Hellraiser film. And that's not good for a franchise. When you have someone who owns the franchise who doesn't really care about the original meaning of the original film, then it can dilute it and change it and make the original fans just really kind of go,
Right.
these, So
Well,
when you're asked to step in and play a role that has another actor solidly, identified with this character for 8 movies, then it's a challenge,
I can
and
imagine.
that was a challenge that is outside of the normal challenge that an actor
You looked
has.
amazing, though. Like,
Thank
honestly, you really did an amazing job. It was
you.
awesome.
I loved it so much. All I was doing after deciding that knowing I had to honor Doug Bradley and what came before and what the fans would want, then I got to like look at the script. It's a different lead Cenobite, Pinhead, if you will. Still very, very intelligently written, but he's older and he's bored and he's just as cynical as ever. And when he gets to go to town on the angel at the end of the movie, he's like back in it. He's like, yes. But it's an interesting story, introducing the Gary Tunnicliffe, who wrote, directed, played the auditor, basically wrote, directed, and starred in this movie, and did all of the makeup and all the design, all the costumes, all the props, because he'd been involved with the Hellraiser movies since the third one and had done Doug Bradley's Pinhead makeup for many movies. He knew what he was doing. It was an act of love. He respected the original source material, Clive Barker's writing, all of that, and this creation of this new thing called the Stygian Inquisition was really brilliant. And it opened up a new life for Hellraiser. But unfortunately, or fortunately, the Me Too movement started, and when that started, they lost the franchise. So all the people who were going to be involved with a possible sequel to Judgment were unemployed, and it I saw it happen, and I was like, oh well, that's the way it goes.
Yeah,
But Me
that's
Too is a very
unfortunate.
important movement, and it's maybe it's not a bad thing that this
Yeah.
happened. It's fine. I got to play
Well,
Pinhead, and who knows what happened to that guy. I don't know, spoilers, but I'm not Pinhead at the end of the movie, but I'm alive. So we'll just say that much.
thank you so much
No,
for joining us. Me
absolutely.
today. Well, I
My
really
pleasure. I
appreciate it.
know. You got to let me go.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to wrap up a little bit quicker than I was hoping, but we do have the interview with Diane coming up next. And definitely, if you guys are going to be in the area, Conroe, Texas, the first weekend of October is 7th and 8th,
I'll be
is going to
there.
be Terror Fest at Southern Star Brewery. So definitely check that out. And I really appreciate you being here, Paul. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
It's my pleasure, Mom Birella.
And thank you so
Really.
much, guys, for joining us. Love y'all. Make sure to stick around for the next one. And until then, we'll see you guys next week at Magic Making Mischief. And until next time, mischief managed. Bye.
Peace. Bye.
Bye.